Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Roots of Success podcast. I am your host, Nate the Great, and today we have a legend in the house. I'm sure you guys have heard of this man in many TV outlets and, of course, music videos, to say the least.
If you haven't, then what should they do, Nate?
Oh, they should look you up and make sure they see you.
Nate missed the mark, man. You need to get familiar, is what you're supposed to say.
Get familiar?
Get familiar. Nate, what makes you great?
What makes me great?
Yes, because that's a self-proclaimed name, right?
Absolutely.
So what do you think makes you great?
The fact that I can have deep conversations with people and unlock that potential within them.
Cool. Good answer.
Thank you, bro.
It wouldn't have been as good of an answer had you not gave that thrust.
That thrust?
You
like that?
That's what drove it home.
You know, it's funny. I read a book and it says, Clinton, enthusiasm. That's one of the strongest traits of a human being.
I have a lot of passion, and quite frequently my passion is mistaken for anger.
Really?
Yeah, because I get really hyped, like, why are we da-da-da-da-da-da? And I'm totally not mad, but it comes off that way. Maybe it's the Boston in me, or maybe it's the passion, but yeah, I could totally be like, and they're like, hey, you guys want to go eat? And it's like, I wasn't mad. Like, I'm just pumped. Man, I'm excited. You should be this freaking pumped too.
Literally. To just wake up.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting. So Clinton, before we kind of dive deep, because I know we can get, we're really going to get into it today.
Especially this kind of deep, right? Get this kind of deep.
Hey, we're going to get deep, my brother. You feel me? But kind of walk us through a little bit where you're from, where you started. Because again, I feel like a lot of people, they tend to look at the highlight reel, the pinnacle of success.
Right.
But walk us through.
Well, what I will say to that is my life is a highlight reel. Right?
The whole time?
Whole time. What I mean by that is like, people just want to show the wins or the great things or what makes them awesome. And to me, that's not the highlight. The highlight is the hardships and the troubles to get to the wins, and the struggle to find the resolutions for problems, whether it's life or business, whatever it is. To me, that's where the magic and the highlight is. Because then the win is just momentary. Like, look, if you play your football game, you played 3 hours, the win is the minute at the end of those 3 hours. You know what I mean? Celebrating on the field, even if you're out there for a half hour, it doesn't compare to how long it took to get to that win. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's my take on it.
No, absolutely. You a big Pats fan?
I'm a guy from Boston, of course.
What do you think of the system they got?
Yeah, I'm not a big sports talker.
Okay.
I'm a Boston fan and a Boston sports fan, but I don't follow all of the trades and plays and all that. All I care about is, did we win this week? That's it. I'm working. I don't have time. I don't have time to worry about another man over there training and working to do great at his job. I'm focused on doing great at my job.
No, absolutely. And people definitely do get tied up into that, where it's like they watch that every Sunday for like 12. 15.
Yeah, but that's fine. If that's their, that's their escapism or their break from working that hard, that's cool too. It's just not, my fun happens to be working.
That's deep. I like that. So, with your life being a highlight reel and everything, walk us through a little bit how you grew up. Of course, being around and from Boston. I mean, I know from being on the East Coast, because I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm not up in that area, but I realize how bold and blunt compared to the West Coast that it can be. Yeah. So kind of walk us through how you were raised a little bit.
Have you ever churned butter?
About churned butter?
Yeah. No?
I know what it is, though.
Okay. Born and raised in Boston, Mass, in a town called Dorchester.
Oh, yeah.
Inside Boston. You know Dorchester?
There. Yeah.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm. Real estate.
So I'm a dot rat.
Okay.
That's what they call us back in the day. Grew up with a single mom, worked 2 jobs. And my father had issues with alcoholism. So that kind of made my family split up at a young age. And I've been into music ever since I was 10 years old. It was kind of like music was my best friend. I didn't really have many friends growing up, and I was kind of an awkward, not attractive lonely, broke kid. So yeah, that's what I found as my escapism, or what to do with my ample time because I had nobody to hang out with. So yeah, so I got into a lot of trouble by myself, and I worked on music a lot as a kid. Yeah. There's so much to say. I don't really know where you want me to go with it.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Did you play any instruments?
Nope. Never played an instrument fluently my entire life, yet I made platinum records and got a Grammy nomination. Yeah. So go figure. Right?
What were some of your hobbies? What'd you do since, you were lonely and stuff and you didn't really hang out with many people? What'd you do in your alone time?
I studied people, studied life. From a very young age, I would wonder why people act a certain way. So I paid attention to psychology, which also plays a role into marketing.
Absolutely.
So from, I would sit in the back of my mom's car in the hot leather seats in the summer, and we would drive down the street. I would literally look at billboards and think like, man, that message wasn't delivered right. Well, what does that even mean? Right? So from a very young age, I understood the art of getting people familiar, right? And what it took to do so. And the psychology, not only behind what it takes to do so, but understand the psychology of those you're trying to make understand something. Why wouldn't they understand it? How do you make them understand it? What's the things that are in the way from making them understand it? So when I was young, even bullies, when I'd get bullied when I was a kid, I wouldn't go home like, I was bullied. Right. Instead, I'd be like, I wonder why that kid feels like it's okay to do that. Huh. Or I wonder what thrill he gets out of making me feel this way. So I was really in tune and keen to understanding life and everything around it.
That's interesting. No, I was very similar growing up, Clinton. I never really got bullied too much. Mm-hmm. But if somebody kind of said something, or I thought the same exact thing, like why do you want to possess such negative actions?
Right. Well, I was also at a different time where I was too white for the black kids and too black for the white kids. So it was kind of like I didn't really fit in anywhere. When I was young, I was a hip hop head, right? But absolutely. It wasn't as acceptable now where everyone hangs out together. We all yo, let's just party, right? It's different. This new generation is awesome. People are way more accepting, understanding, willing to understand what those guys are doing over there. Hey, let's all collaborate and hang out. When I was young, it wasn't. It was rap guys there, kids that listen to rock there, emo kids over there, weirdo Dungeons and Dragons kids over here. This, and I was friends with all of them. So I was the kid that would walk into the cafeteria at lunch, and I would sit with the ESL kids, and then I would sit with the kids that are downstairs. You don't even know what they're doing. You don't even see them during school, right? Then I'd sit with the jocks, and I'd sit with my black friends, and then I would sit with foreign exchange students and stuff like that. I was the guy that was friends and wanted to know what everybody was into. Mm-hmm. So I could hang with the Dungeons and Dragons kids one day, hang out with my friends, in a cypher, beatboxing and rapping, and then, hang out with my friends that are listening to Metallica. So I'm the kid that I read Fangoria magazine, I read Mad magazine, I read Word Up magazine, and I read Circus. I don't even know if you know what all those are. But it was a heavy metal magazine, a rap magazine, a horror movie, makeup magazine, and Mad magazine's just a comedy, satire magazine, right? So that just kind of shows who I've been my whole life. And I'm still that guy today, which is why I understand everybody in the room.
That's deep. Because when you can truly understand, I'm sure you can feel energy real good, can't you?
Yeah, I didn't know what this term was until maybe a year ago.
Interesting.
Somebody said to me, "You're an empath."
Oh, okay. Wow, we're going real deep.
Yeah. And I was like, what does that even mean? And then when they defined it, I was like, oh, I am that. That's crazy. I didn't know there was a title for my instincts and intuition and understanding and feeling the room and understanding the things that I understand and why. Yeah. Why I can say the same thing to somebody that you might say.
Yeah.
And they may get offended by you saying it. And for some reason, they don't by me. One thing I heard a lot was, how the fuck do you get away with doing this? I've heard that a lot in my life. And to me, I didn't know I was getting away with anything. It was just normal and natural to me.
Yeah.
So even when I was coming up on my radio shows and I would interview people and ask, the hardest rap or something that is pretty inappropriate or like kind of would make, especially at that time, this is like when I was on Shade 45.
Yeah.
And I would ask like everybody like crazy questions that like nobody would ask. And then it's even crazier coming from a white kid asking these questions because it almost either one seems like you're mocking or two, you are so far out of the loop that you don't know what you're talking about. Therefore, why am I even being interviewed by you? Right? So it was a fine line of making them feel comfortable, understanding I know what I'm talking about, but being able to push the envelope without them getting angry or offended.
Yeah.
In fact, 99% of the people that I did that I didn't meet until my interview, I'm probably still friends with to this day.
Really?
Whether it's a T.I. or Rick Ross or Talib Kweli or whoever it is, like, it could have went like, yo, this dude's an asshole, or I like this guy. And I think it's I like this guy because we're still all cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. Most people, I feel as if they kind of overthink what they want to say. Because for this interview, for example, Clinton, I never have questions prepared.
Right.
I never do that. Because I feel as if I do that, I'm over here playing a script in my head when I just want it to flow.
Well, the problem with that is, and I can tell you this from an interviewer myself, is that when I started out, you'd have all the home run questions, right? Yeah. And then you'd forget, and then you'd get flustered because you're like, oh my God, what was I going to ask next? Oh my God, this is going to be a bad interview.
For real.
But that's also getting comfortable, right? And then after a while, I didn't either. It was just kind of like, I know the magic is in the moment. Yeah. And I know that I know enough and I'm a good conversationalist enough that I can drive this. And I've been an artist my whole life too. So I know how to own the interview and control it. So even like if you're interviewing me and I have an objective to meet in this interview, I know how to get you to make me say what I need to say. Or I know how to deflect you from trying to get a soundbite that you need and make sure that my objective is met before yours is.
That makes sense. How we opened it up. I see you, brother. I got you.
Right.
No, that's
but that comes with experience. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of times, even with this generation, they want the fast track to success.
Of course.
And look, my generation is the generation that did it all, fucked up, learned lessons, and then figured it out, in their 30s, right?
Yeah.
And then they finally got to a place they figured out. This generation didn't go through all the stuff that we went through, yet they want the results that we have after 15 or 20 years of doing these things. Which, by the way, you can, eliminate a lot of those years by learning from people like us that give you the blueprint and tell you, watch out for this landmine. You know what I mean? So you can get a fast track, but it's still not overnight. You can't put an old head on young shoulders. So experience and wisdom will always supersede, being told or the education that somebody gave you. Because you don't know. It's like a ball player, right? I can tell you run down the field, get into the end zone, don't let no one knock the ball out of your hand. But it takes experience to know how to step this way or to know what's coming and feel what's coming over to this side or understand like the things that you would only understand if you did it. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with business. It's the same thing with love. It's the same thing with relationships, life, everything. And I think that's the single most important thing that the youth need to understand, because a lot of kids think they're smarter than they are, right? And they'll sit here like, no, I get it. I know how to work the internet. I'm great at this and I'm great at that. I'm out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm out here.
And it's like, yeah, that's dope. That's a dope component of what you need to do to win. It's not the end all. But, it's the same even like when I'm a kid. You think you know it all. And your parents like, and you're like, you're old. You don't understand it, right?
Yeah.
But no, they do understand shit you don't understand. Not even because they're smarter. They're just more experienced. You'll never experience, have you ever seen Good Will Hunting?
Oh yeah, Robin Williams.
Right. So there's a scene where Matt Damon and Robin Williams are sitting on the bench in the park, right? And before they got to that bench, Matt Damon ripped apart Robin Williams because Matt Damon in this movie, if you haven't seen this movie, it's Matt Damon's like a genius kid who is a know-it-all punk from Boston, but he's super smart, right? So he's smart for his own good. So he goes to Robin Williams as a therapist to prevent from going to jail. He has to go sit with this therapist. So he's sitting there kind of mocking the therapist, like, whatever, you can't tell me nothing, I know everything, right? Kind of has that mentality, like a lot of you may have, right? So he sits there and he's kind of pointing out a picture he has on his wall. And he goes, oh, what's up with that painting? And Robin Williams says, oh, I painted that myself. So Matt Damon tries to identify who Robin Williams is through that painting. And he goes, I think you're a lost soul who's upset that your wife left you and blah, 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 right? Couldn't have been further from the truth. Robin Williams grabs him by the neck, says, don't ever mention my wife again. And then later on, they're sitting at a park. When they're sitting at this park bench, this is the pivotal moment that every kid needs to watch this scene and understand this. For real. Because he sits there and says, I'm not even mad at you for ripping my life to shreds. He goes, because what I realized that night when I went home is that you're just a young kid that doesn't know shit. And Matt Damon kind of like, whatever, another old timer trying to tell me I don't know shit, da-da-da, this and that. And then he breaks it down how he doesn't. He goes, if I asked you about love, you would give me this example, but you've never really been in true love. You never loved somebody more than you loved yourself. You never loved somebody and sat next to them as they died from cancer. You sat there every day and the doctor comes in and realized the words visiting hours don't apply to you, right? He goes, if I asked you about art, you'd probably tell me about this. If I told you about it, and then he starts breaking it down in such an eloquent way that you're like, yeah, it's experience. And he ends it off by saying, because Matt Damon's an orphan in this movie, if you haven't seen it. And he goes, you're an orphan, right? And he goes, yeah. He goes, do you think I know how the fuck you feel because I read Oliver Twist? You know what I mean? I haven't the faintest idea of what you went through or how you feel and how you mentally deal with all that stuff. But I read Oliver Twist, so I understand orphans. You know what I mean? And that's what this generation is. They'll go to a conference or they'll read a book or they'll watch somebody online give videos. And they're like, oh, I got it figured out. No. You may have the formula, but there's an art to utilizing that formula. You know what I'm saying? I can give you nails and a hammer and wood, and you got it all. But do you really? You need the blueprint. But you need experience to understand this hammer doesn't do a good job at this. This is the right screw for this, and I know because I tried it with this and the fucking wall fell down. You know what I'm saying? So you have to experience life. So if I had a piece of advice for the youth out there is get out and experience life. Like learn stuff from people out there that have valuable information to share. I have a shit ton of stuff that I can show and teach people. In fact, I have a book coming out in January called How to Win Big in the Music Business. Damn, bro. So I already wrote the book. I'm excited about it. Damon John wrote the foreword. So I'm excited about that. And the great thing about this, like, look, I've been doing music forever and I see all the mistakes. I see all the pitfalls. I see what people have been misled and misinformed for so long that it's time for somebody to come out and say, let me tell you what whack shit to stop doing and what dope shit you need to focus on. And that's what this book is. This book isn't like a, how do you upload your song to Spotify? This book is going to give you the psychological tools to be equipped to go out there and how to do things right. From networking to understanding like what to do, just because you could doesn't mean you should. Opportunities, like there's so much mental ammunition you need, to go out here and conquer and fight in this war of life. That it's way stronger than just understanding the practical things you need to do. I give the practical advice as well, but like it's really not like legally this is what you have to pay attention to. Like there's books for that already. What there isn't books for is a motherfucker telling you exactly how to do this shit right and where you're fucking up. And that's what this book is about. How to win big in the music business. But on top of that, although it's wrapped in music, it's giving values and principles that can be transferable to any industry and can be utilized in your personal life and relationships as well.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. You sure you got a copy now, bro? I mean, shoot,
I can show you on my laptop.
How long did it take you to write it?
Well, I'm an overachiever and a perfectionist, so
yeah.
it's something I probably could have written in a week. And the people that are around me that are waiting for me to finish keep getting upset with me because I'm like, no, I got to go back and read. Because I'll go back and reread it, but like, I got to talk more about this. I got to make sure. Because look, I also know how artists think. I know how the young generation thinks. And as much as I think, oh man, this is the best guide to give you the psychological understanding of how to approach it, there's still going to be people that say, oh, he didn't even tell me this. Oh, he didn't tell me that. And it's like, you're missing the point, bro. And at the end of the book, I give the whole formula, but without understanding everything else before you read the formula, you wouldn't be able to utilize the formula the same way.
And just the word psychological, because that's the thing. I mean, a lot of life's all psychology. You know, the way you interact with people, the gestures. One of my favorite books, I like Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. And of course, The Wolf of Wall Street and everything. He teaches about the tonality, the body language. But with what you do in the music industry, that's a book that I feel like every single music artist is going to need.
Right, and it's pretty much parallels to Jordan's book, just in a different industry. You know what I'm saying? And with no having ran over people or treated people like shit or ran any scams.
Right.
You know what I mean? The reason why I have relationships that have sustained for the past 15, 20 years is because I always do good business. I care about people, and I will take a financial L before I do something that someone can say Clinton's an asshole. I care more about doing great things and helping. I care about making other people win more than myself to a fault.
Wow. That's powerful.
Maybe not so much for me, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're always looking at you and where you stand, like they say, you can't always make it to the top alone.
Well, my theory in life is everybody wants to be great, right? Yeah. But helping others become great is being great. And most people focus on just being great and hogging all the things and the tools and the knowledge that they have in the effort to just make them the greatest. And I find myself making other people great makes me feel great. Therefore, it makes me great.
Absolutely. There's no greater feeling than that, you know.
Right.
Who would you classify as just a few or a couple great people that are like the 0.1%? And in any music industry?
Well, I have a handful of people that I think make the world a better place to be in by either injecting happiness, doing well for other people, and just their overall presence in the world makes the world a better place. And those people are people like Bill Gates, Ellen DeGeneres, The Rock, Jimmy Fallon, Kevin Hart.
Oh yeah, man.
There's a lot. It's too many. I mean, I know a lot of those had celebrity faces to them, and that people know them. There's other people behind the scenes that I feel like makes the world a better place too. But yeah, those are people. I mean, I just watched. Did you watch Bill Gates documentary?
Gosh, I haven't. Netflix?
Oh my God, yeah, it's like
okay, I gotta check it.
The guy's like the most selfless guy. You know what I mean? And even Warren Buffett too. Like the things that they are doing for the earth and for just humanity, it's just like, man, people look and admire them for what they've done. And the young generation, for the most part, looks at rich as cool, right? Oh, you made all this money. He's the man, right? To me, that's not what makes Bill Gates the man. Of course, what makes him the man is his caring about the world and wanting to make the world and the people in his lives better. And he does it on his own dime, and he takes on causes that like no one's even thinking about or cares about, which you can't care about everything, but he's finding things that are like, how do we make this better? Which in turn helps make the world better. So yeah.
No, absolutely. It's funny, Clinton. Half of those names that you said, have you ever read Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I'm not sure if you remember the Invisible Counselors. Basically, it says like, with Napoleon, he had like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Abraham Lincoln, and a whole bunch of others that he wanted to basically chat with them every single night in his imagination and his thoughts, because thoughts are powerful. And thoughts basically, of course, as you're aware, they transmute into existence, right? And half the people that you mentioned are part of my invisible counselor. Ellen, her humor and her flow. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, his confidence and his grit. You're going to like this one. Stevie Wonder, his vision. He has no vision,
right?
But he's still got a vision. And it's funny that you mention those because, again, with me wanting to develop, and anybody, I mean, watching this with some of the people that Clinton, you surrounded yourself around and that you've worked with, I mean, these are legends. These are great people.
Right.
They do amazing things. And I totally feel you when you say about the younger generation, they want things quick, right? Nobody wants to go across and do the process, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. People just want to go from 1 to like level 12.
Well, there's also greatness about this new generation too, is their desire to want to learn, their desire to want to win and be better and be entrepreneurs and be self-sufficient. So when I say that, that wasn't a shot at like, hey, you guys are messing up. It's just kind of more like a grab you by the shoulder and say, dude, take that ambition, take that drive and that excitement and enthusiasm, and make sure you're not forgetting some of these important components that are going to help you get to the top of the mountain. It's not a fast track, and it's not an easy track. Just like you said, there's grit, there's patience, there's ambition, drive, self-motivation, there's priorities, there's commitment, there's planning, and that's what a lot of people like. I will tell you, like, when I was a kid, nobody was thinking about owning businesses. You know what I mean? Like, no kids were thinking that way. I started my own company when I was 12. Wow. It was called Rent-A-Teen.
Rent-A-Teen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And shout out to my mom who helped me form that. But so like I understood, like, even in high school, this is normal type stuff now, but when I was a kid, kids weren't thinking like this. It's like my school wanted to get a skip day for my high school. So I was putting it together. Where could we all go and have a memorable day? So there's a place called Water Country, north of Massachusetts and New Hampshire. And I called them and I said, how many people do I have to bring there for you guys to bring the ticket down from $27.50 a person to like significantly reduce the price? They're like, well, if you bring 40 people, we'll do it for $10.50. So I was like, great. So I went and charged everybody $12, right? So I made $1.50 off everybody. So what I make, $50, right? Yep. So one of the kids in class found out that I made money off them, and like the whole class got mad at me. They were like, "Yo, that's some sucker shit. Like, why would you make money off us?" And I'm like, instead of looking at I saved you, you know what I mean? Like $16, $17,
right?
Or no, $15. Instead of looking, I saved you $15
for real
and got you an awesome day, a memorable day forever. You're worried about that I made $1.50.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was actually a big deal throughout my class.
Oh, it wasn't your class?
It was my class.
Okay,
it was a big deal throughout my class that they were like, "Yo, that's shady." Clinton all like got us for $1.50.
Yeah,
and I'm like, man, these dudes don't understand life.
Right? You probably sold the teacher a ticket too.
Man, I was the kid that would hang in the faculty staff lounge with the teachers and hang out, and they'd give me a pass to go to my next class late. It's the art of likability too. So, like, that's one of the books I have in mind. I have a bunch of books lined up, but it's like the art of likability.
Is that a book?
No.
Okay. But that's when you're probably
it will be.
Okay, I got you.
And it's like, man, there's so much to teach about that. And like, it's so much to make people realize that, you're not as cool as you think you are, man. I don't mean like cool fashion wise. Right. I mean that as likable. You think, oh man, I know how to talk. I know how to do this. And like, you'll walk in a room and you have this persona that you think you're a different person than what you really are. Yeah. And a lot of people, man, that this will be a conversation that goes somewhere else, but like, it goes into mental health too. And it's like people really have wild imaginations or are detached from reality. And they really need a self-assessment and self-check. But like, it's really difficult because, stupid doesn't know it's stupid, right? So when you try to tell somebody like, oh, here's some things that maybe you might have some deficiencies or some like parts of you that are not favorable. That if you just make some of these adjustments, you'll have a better life and better interaction with people. But then people look at it like, who says you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, who are you? You do this and this wrong. You know what I mean? And instead of like taking that in and saying, oh man, let me assess what they just said to me. It could be some validity to that. Let me make some adjustments. Instead, they'll condemn or judge or critique the source that's giving them that information. Right? And I'm not saying everybody that gives you information like that is valuable, but like there's certain people that you can just say, look at this is why. I'm not gonna go there. Anyways, yeah. So it's why I'll get his.
I can feel it. Yeah.
I want to go somewhere else, but it's like relationships, for instance.
Oh yeah.
You start off with somebody. Say the girl's like, oh my God, he's fascinating. He's cute. He's this. He's got money. He's successful. He's a gentleman. Blah blah. These are all the reasons why I like him and want to get closer to him and become his lady. Right? As the allure of that wears off and you start realizing these other things that maybe aren't so favorable in your opinion, he's not up here anymore like he used to be to you. So now when he says, hey, you know what you did wrong here is this, now it's like, oh, really? Like when you fucking lied last week about something, It's like, oh, so now I don't have any merit to when I'm teaching you something because I did something. Do you know what I'm saying? Like once you are a real person with real mistakes or real flaws, like you start losing validity. It's why, like, the people that you listen to give you advice, like, what do you really know about them? Like, just think about the top 5 guys that are online right now that give you advice, and you listen to everything they say. You don't know if they cheat on their wife. You don't know if they ever hit their kids. You don't know if they ever robbed from their friend. You don't know if they ever you don't know these things, right? And if you did, you might not really value their word anymore because they're kind of a fuckhead.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but you just go, oh, he invested in this company. He invested in that. He's brilliant, right? Yeah. And it's like, oh, he's saying some things that like, okay, that's great. But don't look at him as like a god that knows everything because he has flaws. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, just be mindful of that. That's all I'm saying. Just be mindful of where you're getting your information from and who it's coming from. Like you can do receipts on me all day. If I give you advice, you can look, there's nothing private about me. I've talked about everything that's happened to me as a child. I talked about the wrong things that I've done as a kid, illegal acts. I've talked about one thing I've never done is I've never, ever, ever betrayed a friend. I've never, ever did shady business by a friend or by anybody. Now, that's a slippery slope because I can say that, but somebody may be able to say, oh yeah, yes you did. What about this situation? And it's like, you got to check that dude's history and that dude's reputation and that dude's mental health against mine.
Real.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it's like, somebody, for sure when my book comes out, for sure as things I'm doing, somebody's going to come out and say, and I even have a couple people in my head that will say, oh, Clinton's whack because he did this. And someone's going to be like, oh, that's shady or whack that Clinton did that. Really? Really? Look at the source, bro. Like, do your research and due diligence before you judge or condemn or believe shit that you're hearing from other people on the internet. Yeah.
No, that's deep, bro.
I don't know why I went on that tangent just now.
No, I love it, bro. Just to kind of go off of that.
Like, I would never, if someone was like, yo, that dude Nate the Great, da-da-da, yo, he touched this girl inappropriately, therefore he's a piece of shit. Why'd you do an interview with him? And it's like, I don't know you. Yeah. Like, I've looked at his history. I did some due diligence on him, this and that. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, like if you're just gonna go off of somebody else's word, then it's like, and you even have a heart-to-heart with the person. And it's like, hold up, you know? Because I'm sure some of the relationships you have with people today, I mean, knowing your personality and just, again, you're great at back to the energy thing and feeling people. And I'm sure unlocking people from an early age, people probably told you stuff that they've never told anybody else. You know?
Maybe, but one of the things to add on to what I was saying is that, like, I guess I already made the point, but nobody credible would ever have anything but good things to say about me because I built who I am by design. I knew what I wanted to be. I knew how I wanted people to look at me, and I stuck to that. When you decide what kind of man you want to be, you don't let anybody else distract you from being that man you want to be. So if I decide I'm going to be this type of man and somebody pisses me off, I'm not going to come out of the man that I built myself to be because they attacked me or because they said something negative. Or like, it's like Jay-Z. When do you see Jay-Z get pissed off? When do you see Jay-Z go on a tangent on the internet? Like, oh yeah? When do you see him respond to negativity? You don't. Why? Why do you think? Because he built the man that he decided to be, and that stuff is outside of the boundaries of who he is, what he accepts, and what he represents. So if you got crap to say about me, I can't stop that. I know who I am. Yeah. The people that matter know who I am. You know what I mean? If you feel differently about me, sorry, bro.
Right. And if they're easy to change your opinion quick, then
yeah, that's another thing too. You got there's something to say about people that are willing to listen to crap.
Oh my gosh.
You got to question yourself.
Yeah.
If you're willing to be swayed by somebody without even like doing any research,
that's crazy.
I mean, that's what all the headlines are for. That's what all, you know, the thumbnail.
Oh yeah, the little clickbaiter.
Yeah, it's all clickbait, man. Life is clickbait.
Life is clickbait. Is it hard to keep a clean slate throughout somebody's career?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Temptations and all that? Sure you've had people that tried to, you know, hey, Clinton, let's...
No. Nope. When you say, hey, Clinton, let's what?
So like somebody met, hey, Clinton, you wanna try this or something that might be...
You sound like someone asked me to do drugs when I was 13.
That's what I was thinking.
Like, hey, Clinton, want to try this weed? No, I've never been a victim of peer pressure, and I've never had to follow the trends. I've never felt the need to fit in.
Because you've always, you know, been who Clinton is. You've owned that.
Right, and I'm happy with who Clinton is. People that feel the need to fit in or follow trends obviously are not happy with who they are. They want to be what everybody else is. I'm happy being Clinton Sparks, which is why I tell you to get familiar.
Yeah, that's deep. What's one of your biggest? What's your why? You know, what's the why behind all the greatness that you do and everything? It's that drive that gets Clinton going.
Well, there's two answers. But I'll just tell you this story. So as long as I can remember when I was a kid, the only two things that I ever cared about that were my goals in life were, now I'm talking about, this is a kid that was broke. We lived in apartments with roaches. There was a point I was homeless. I slept in my car. So I never sat there and thought about, I wish I was rich. The only two things I ever cared about my whole life was making people happy and being a great dad one day. So one day when I was traveling, because I travel a lot DJing, I called my son. He was about, 10. And I was like, hey man, I'm coming home Thursday, man. I can't wait to see you. He's like, yeah, me too, Dad. I'm like, dude, what are we going to do when I get home? He's like, I don't know. We're going to play all these games. We used to make up games and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, man, I can't wait. He goes, me too. And I go, hey man, and my son's name's Jack Sparks, get familiar. And I said, hey dude, what do you miss most about me when I'm gone? And he hesitated for a minute, and then he said, Dad, you just make everything happy. And it was like, that was probably the greatest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, because it was me being a good dad and making the people I care about the most happy. And the fact that that's how he felt about me. When he thinks of his dad, he thinks of he makes things happy. I mean, not to big myself up, I'm saying like, what's better feeling than thinking my dad just makes everything happy? Right? So like, I felt extremely proud and emotional. And I actually in my house right now, I have a big framed thing that just says in the quotations, you make everything happy, Jack Sparks. Because how can you look at that and not be happy? You know what I mean?
I'm definitely going to have to notice that, brother. Holy cow. How old's your son now?
He's 15.
15?
Yeah.
Wow.
We were just around. He was just outside last night. He was driving my car around.
Really?
I'm in the passenger seat. Just getting ready to take over the roads.
Oh, boy. I mean, you still look like you're 30, bro, for real.
Oh, thanks, man.
I think it's that. What's your ethnicity?
Mostly Irish.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I mean, I never drank my entire life. I don't do drugs. Wow. No, I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. Drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, in 2008, when I first became a host on E! News, I seen how I looked like a slob on TV. And because, at that time, I was just producing beats in my basement all the time. I don't care what I look like. I'm on TV, and then I was like, holy crap, I look horrible. Literally overnight, I went from a kid who would eat a pound of pasta and chicken parm, 2 Coca-Colas, like powdered iced tea, and like no matter how full I was, I'd eat a brownie blast sundae. I like literally would drive to the ice cream spot 3 to 4 times a week and buy a supersized large like cookie dough ice cream with peanut butter sauce on it. Like, and overnight, I went cold turkey and cut out carbs and sugar. Mm-hmm. And since 2008, I haven't drank any soda, no juice. And the only liquid I put in my body since 2008 is water and hot tea with nothing in it. And only the past few years have I started drinking unsweetened almond milk, only because I make smoothies. Mm. You know what I mean? So those are the only 3 like liquids I put in my body. Wow. Oh, and I just had like kombucha recently.
Oh, kombucha, yeah.
But I think that's all good too. So yeah, I don't put anything bad in my body like that. So that might play a role in.
Wow. Yeah, I know for me, dairy can be kind of heavy,
that's another interview.
Man. For real. Yeah,
the dangers of dairy.
We'll cover the bathroom issues
right.
later.
So one thing I want to talk about while we're here
is
aside from my book coming out in January called How to Win Big in the Music Business, is another way to help you win big in the music business is I've been doing radio for almost 20 years now. I've helped Eminem launch Shade 45. I built my own syndicated radio show in 22 cities. I was a vice president of Dash, which is a radio platform with over 13 million users right now. You can get the Dash Radio app right now. It's got over 80 channels, commercial free, and there's no subscription cost. So it's like Sirius XM, but free and better. So, so I just launched my first ever worldwide hip hop station called Get Familiar Radio at Get Familiar Radio on Instagram or getfamiliarradio.com. It's the first worldwide platform that allows emerging or established artists to actually get in radio rotation with the biggest names in hip hop.
That's powerful.
I mean, look, you can buy fake streams, fake plays, fake views, likes, comments. What you can't fake is getting your music really heard on radio or having it really play. You're literally hearing yourself playing right after Drake or Migos or Post Malone or Gunna or DaBaby, whoever it is, in you. It's never existed before. So this is the first time, and it can't really exist anywhere else. I've been working on this for 2 years now, and it's finally up and running. I just launched it this past couple of days. And it's going to change the game for radio. It's going to change the game for emerging artists. It's going to change the game for hip hop. GetFamiliarRadio.com. Go and check it out. My boy Offset's on there talking about it. Yo Gotti's on here talking about it. On the actual site, if you go there, you'll see Offset telling you why you need to get familiar with getfamiliarradio.com. And yeah, bro, this is part of what you need to do if you take your music career serious.
Yeah.
This is part of what you need to do is you need to be heard. And there's hundreds of thousands of people listening to my radio station every day. And you need to get your music heard, man. Like being on the DSPs is obviously cool and part of what you need to do as an artist. But look at that as like a CD collection. You know what I mean? Like you go there to listen to something specific. You know what I mean? Like radio is the lean back experience where like you're discovering new shit from qualified sources that can take, this is something you need to get familiar with.
Qualified, I like that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and like, I'm pretty qualified.
I'd say
I've broken many artists in my career from the Tigers to Rick Ross's to, DJ Snake to, many artists I've broken over the years. If you don't know, get familiar.
And you said this is for emerging artists as well.
Emerging, established artists. Like, look, and this is how easy it is. You could literally be in the studio and make a dope-ass record like, yo, this shit is hot. We got to put this out.
Yeah.
Go on your phone, log in. Go into getfamiliarradio.com, upload your song, pick what package you want. And literally, it's that easy. You're in rotation. It's that easy. It sounds weird and it sounds too easy, but it's that easy. Get your music heard worldwide, literally right from your bedroom. You could be in your bedroom, make a hot new record, and be like, yo, this is fire. How do I get people to hear this immediately? You get played on the radio. Even if you upload it to SoundCloud, Spotify, like, doesn't guarantee anyone's listening to it. Guess what? You're on radio. Someone's listening to it. It's being listened to. It's actually being played right next to the biggest names in hip-hop. It's a no-brainer. I wish this was available when I was young putting out music.
Just the brains behind this idea.
And then what's even crazier about this is not only is it awesome that your song gets on radio, but we send you, once you upload your music, send you an email that tells you exactly what day and time your song's going to play. So now you can promote to your fans and friends and family. You can film it being played right after. Like, yo, check out my music. Man, dude, like, I've made it such a no-brainer because I've been doing this for so long. And I was an artist. I was signed to Def Jam. I was signed to Interscope. Broke artist, produced artist. I sold platinum records. I had a Grammy nomination. I've been doing everything in the music business for almost 20 years. I know what artists need. And I know what they're looking for because I wish that I had it when I was coming up. So yeah, getfamiliarradio.com and get the world familiar with your music.
For real. If you guys know anybody that, again, needs this, which pretty much I'd say every artist needs it.
Right.
Share it with them. I know I'm going to be talking to some of I got some people in Australia, Clinton, and then just here in the States that, I'm pretty close with. And they got some really good voices.
So. No-brainer, man. Then I got the book coming in January that once you get your music playing, then you need to understand how to move forward and build your business, how to win big in the music business will be coming out in January.
Absolutely. Book. And I will attach all the links down below. You said January, correct? For the
right. The station's up now, but the book will come out in January.
The book will come
out. The course.
Okay, I got you. So perfect, Clinton. I want to be respectful of your time. First off, I just want to commend you for who you are and the human being that you became, of course, up to this point today.
Thank you.
It's truly.
Thank you, Nate the Great.
Absolutely, brother. It's monumental, and I see a lot of similarities. Personally myself, I'm very analytical, and I got a lot of respect for you just after doing this interview, and just the fact that you said about your son and your family, and just everything you've done up to this point, man. There's definitely been moments where I did a lot of reflecting throughout this interview, and yeah, bro, I'm definitely going to be listening to this plenty of times, as I'm sure the audience will be as well.
Can I just let it be known that the shirt that I am wearing right now during this interview was produced and designed by my boy Steve Aoki.
Wow,
he made the shirt for me.
Really?
I literally watched him press this onto the shirt. And then just to make sure everybody knew that he really did that, I had him sign the inside. You see it?
Yeah, I see it. Yep.
So one of a kind, pressed by
goodness.
My boy Steve Aoki himself. Get familiar.
Get familiar. Real quick before we end it, Clinton. What's one? And I know you've already said enough as it is, but what's one action step you want the listeners and the people that are viewing this to go out and implement now, besides, of course, you know, checking out your stuff and everything? What's one action step, execution step that they need to do and implement in their life right now?
Well, I mean, it's not one size fits all. But what I will say is a lot of people out here are chasing the wrong thing the wrong way. And what I will say, and this is a chapter I have in my book, is that famous doesn't make you great, but great can make you famous. So just focus on the great. Become great. Everything else will fall in place.
I'm going to just end it there. Mic drop, baby. I'm going to attach everything again with what Clinton has. Clinton, I appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you too, man.